I find it more and more difficult to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! As time goes on. I'm sure you have seen countless videos like this one in the past. It's a pretty well-covered topic, and I honestly never thought that feeling of really finding it more difficult to enjoy something that you really loved for a long time would be something that I would personally resonate with. But alas, here we are. I have reviewed and written down the reasons as to why I feel this way and segmented them in 4 different topics. Namely, the lack of an anime, card and deck design or archetype design, however you want to call it, management of the game across all fronts, and a lack of, for the lack of a better word, casual ways to enjoy the game. But before we get into the nit and grit, I want to give you a bit of a contextual backstory of myself as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan. If you would rather just get to the 4 topics mentioned before, I totally get it. Here are the timestamps for each of them individually, so you can just pick and choose which ones you want to listen to. My very first memory I can vaguely recall of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is seeing it on television when I was around, I want to say 6 years old. At that moment, I just really mindlessly watched whatever kind of stuff was on TV because, you know, like most 6-year-olds, I was not very bright. But something about Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely did stick. Because when I was a little older, I want to say around 10ish years old, I got a lot more freedom to go to the stores with my pocket money and just be a little bit more independent, right? And we had this kind of a drugstore which also had lots of like local handmade candy that I would frequently visit. One day, while trying to fill my fat face with more candy, my eye fell on a booster pack on the counter. And I just had this like neuron activation moment. I know this. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! I have seen this on TV before, and I ended up buying that pack. I vividly remember it being a duelist pack Jesse Anderson from the GX era, and I pulled a super rare crystal release from that pack. I still have it to this day. I'm sure I can probably find it in my bulk, but I'd have to look for it. And I was just instantly hooked. I have been semi-actively playing the game from around 2008 ever since. I remember building a dark deck with cards like Allure of Darkness, Armageddon Knight, Destiny Hero Malicious, Void Ochre Dragon, Beals, Dark End Dragon, etc. I remember buying 3 Monarch structure decks and feeling completely invincible because they were totally broken. But those times are far in the past now. Nowadays, I need to muster up the courage to open Master Duel and play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It almost doesn't feel like enjoyment anymore, but rather like a chore. At this point, there are genuinely times when dusting the house feels more fun and appealing than playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that feeling is precisely what prompted me to write my feelings as to why Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just getting harder to enjoy for me. So let's cover our first subject, the lack of a proper anime. I think this point is the most commonly shared one among, I'd say, most players. Even if you yourself are not that into the anime stuff and just want to enjoy the game for the gameplay it provides, which would be worrisome in its own way, but you have to admit that having a proper anime would be a straight up net positive for the game as a whole. Everyone loves Duel Monsters, everyone loves GX, everyone loves 5Ds. We don't really talk about Zexal. I personally liked Arc V, but I'm a Pendulum enjoyer, so I'm mentally ill by default. And I'm sure Vrains has some fans out there. And Rush Duel, I mean, I don't really know a lot about it. It's straight up not existent outside of Asia, so I'll just skip that one. But these anime carried the ever-living shit out of the physical card game. Even now, you can see how important it is to have an anime to reference when you look at the sales of Chaos Origins. You slap Yugi on the cover and people will buy it, because they recognize Yugi. We do have the animation chronicles now, but let's be so for real here. These are just like a new car. They are fun for like 2 weeks and then you get bored of them because they are no longer new. We need a new, proper anime which goes over a long period of time with relatable characters. If every new set released had a relatable anime character to put on the cover of them, they would undoubtedly sell better, which would in turn encourage stores to have them in stock, which would in turn upgrade the local scene, which would in turn get more people to play. We desperately need new life in this game, man. I am so tired of playing against the same pool of people every single time. We know Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a problem with getting new players, and I genuinely believe that it is not because the game is too hard to understand, it's because there's no appealing products, and they are not able to play against other new players to learn the game at a reasonable pace. They are thrown into a cesspool of FTKs, stun locks, hand loops, and unbreakable boards. And on that note, let's talk about card design. What the fuck are we doing? Why are we printing cards that hand-rip your opponent? Why are we printing cards that dump any card you want to the graveyard? Why are we printing more generic Omni-Negates? Why are we printing more generic boss monsters with 0 restrictions? What the actual fuck were we thinking when making Cool Toon, the new Toon cards, and the Medius Ars Nova slop? The vast majority of the community, that I know of at least, is begging and literally willing to suck Konami off for them to stop printing these types of cards. We don't want floodgates. We don't want every generic new card to have quick effect negate on it. We don't want cards that look at our hands and rip half of the cards out of it. What's wrong with slapping a restriction on a deck? For example, the end board of the OCG Medius deck is an Omega, an Ice Barrier generic boss monster. Hello, Elflotinia, Barone, I'm going to mispronounce this, Diactorus, whatever. Like, you've got the Elf Note Trap, you've got Elf Note Lucina, you've got Elf Note Fortuna, and you've got the Emo Medius card. That's 3 hand rips, 3 Omni-Negates, a monster bounce, a spell trap bounce, and a full board banish. Why the fuck is Omega not restricted to psychics? Why is the Ice Barrier card not at the very least restricted to water? Why is Barone not restricted to wind, or even better, the actual Fleur archetype? Like, come on, man. Another example is the fact that the new Toon cards are not a hard once per turn for some reason. I am honestly fully convinced that Konami does not test their cards. It is impossible to make the choices they make whilst designing these cards if they actually took the time to play against them. And there are plenty of other cards you can look at, like Cool Toon Rotary did not need to look at the hand effect. Cool Toon Synchro did not need to be twice per turn for some reason, like etc. Going to play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Suddenly becomes a lot less appealing when you know that this is what you're going to be playing against, or well, if you can even get a chance to play against it, right? Even the newly revealed cards like Gallant Thief and Spatial Tunate are just absolutely fucking stupid. What do you mean I get to tribute 2 of my opponent's monsters and get a body on my field which also negates something? And Spatial Tunate just non-targeting bounces any 2 cards. I get that board breakers need to become basically custom cards due to the hole Konami has dug itself into with all of the floodgates and Omni-Negates, but it's fucking sad it's even gotten to this point, man. I miss Fissure, man. I miss Fissure. I miss just being like a 1-for-1 trade-off or something. But whatever, like, a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Today is basically as follows. Oh, you're going second and you didn't open a Charmy, 3 hand traps, a breaker, and a 1-card starter? Damn, bro. Guess you just need to get better at the game. This shit is fucking ridiculous, man. Let's just get to the next topic, because I'm genuinely getting annoyed already. Like, this is not good for my mental health. Like, Jesus. Alright guys, Konami and game management. Name a cuter couple. Let's not beat around the bush here. Konami fucking sucks donkey dick at managing Yu-Gi-Oh! It is what it is. We have known this for decades now. They refuse to actually make meaningful changes, they refuse to properly listen to their community, they refuse to playtest their own game, you name it. One of the reasons I don't want to play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! As often as I used to is because playing a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is essentially akin to not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In a good amount of games, I don't get to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Either I go first and my opponent disrupts all my plays with 3 or 4 hand traps and proceeds to OTK me, or I go second and my opponent tries to make an unbreakable board which I just can't play through. And you could make the argument that if you just go and play the current best deck, your chances of winning will increase. And sure, you're completely right about that, but that would be me contributing to the problem I am literally complaining about right now. A good example of this is the current Master Duel event. At the time of me recording this video, we just finished getting Dark Law locked in the Fusion Cup, and we can now enjoy getting Dark Law locked in Legend and Anthology. Because for some reason, heroes get to go damn near full power, but I can't use an Avramax in my Crusadia deck because it would be, I don't know, too strong? Like, you make it make sense. It is blatantly obvious that Konami did not hit heroes in this instance because the current shiny bundle they are selling is about heroes. I get that they want to make money, I do, but they are actively hurting the enjoyment of the game by doing it in this way. Let me put it really simply. I don't care what they do in the regular ladder. At this point, you could ban so many generic boss monsters, hit so many decks on their consistency, but the result will still be a miserable hand trap minigame in most cases. I personally have no idea how to cleanly fix this, and Konami apparently does not want to fix this because they keep printing more obscenely strong bullshit cards. If I want to play ranked, I am prepared to get hit with Droll, Ash, Called By, Ghostbell, Maxi, the Charmies, etc. It still sucks to be hit with them because like half of these cards should not exist, but that's what's going to happen in a competitive format, because these cards are very good, so of course they get used a lot. And this is also true for cards like, for example, I just said Droll and Lockbird or Dimensional Shifter, but any type of like lingering hand trap. They suck to play against, you feel dirty when you play them, but they are straight up just powerful cards, so yes, of course people are going to play them. I cannot really fault you for playing them in a competitive format because you want to win. It's so difficult because I want to say, oh, you should not play cards like Shifter or cards like Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure, Droll and Lockbird, Kashtira Riseheart, Darklaw. Playing these cards makes me feel incredibly dirty. It genuinely makes me feel bad when I play these cards. But in a competitive format, I will still play these cards because they are very good, so I want to win and I'm going to play the best cards. And it's really sucky because I wish that I did not feel the need to play something like Called By because it's just a necessary evil at this point. I want to see a card like Called By banned, but I don't want to see it banned when stuff like Shifter, Droll, and all the other like 50 billion hand traps are still just swarming everywhere. Because Called By is pretty much the only thing that can help you actually play the game against them. And that's the difficult dilemma I have with a lot of these cards. Because on the one hand, I want to see them banned. Like honestly, if you ask me, you can ban Ash Blossom, you can ban Ghostbell, you can ban Called By, you can ban Nibiru, you can ban whatever triple tactics talent, you can ban all of them, and I think the game would be better for it. But you have to either ban all of them or just don't ban any of them. Because if you ban Called By and you don't ban Droll, like why the fuck, what changes? You lose to more things now, that's the only thing that changes. But like I said, I kind of get it on like the competitive ranked ladder. These are the serious players, they want to win, so they're going to play the strong things. But why are we not banning or limiting all of these hand traps and floodgates in events like the Fusion Cup or the Legend Anthology, which is currently running? When I see a Fusion Cup, I want to see stupid stuff like Star Warrior Fusion Turbo versus Dream Mirror fucking Stall or whatever, or some other jank. If I wanted to see branded timeouts versus hero stun locks, I would just go play ranked. It makes no damn sense. I want to play an event like Fusion Cup or Legend Anthology to see decks I don't normally see, play cards I don't normally play. I play Radiant Typhoon on a regular ladder. I don't want to play Radiant Typhoon in a casual event. Like, these events are just the regular ladder light at this point. And that segues pretty smoothly into my final gripe of the game. So, I consider myself a casual Yu-Gi-Oh player. The issue though is that there is no such thing as casual or mid-range Yu-Gi-Oh! It's either play the best decks that actively make you feel like an asshole when you're playing them, or lose and complain. And don't get me wrong, I touched upon this a bit earlier, but if you want to competitively play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you should use the decks that give you the highest shot at winning. My gripe is the fact that I have no alternative. I live in a country where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is essentially pretty much non-existent. There are 0 locals near me, so my only real way to play is online. And that is where I run into the issue that Master Duel does not offer me anything outside of the competitive main format. I want to use the official client because Master Duel is a really great way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! It plays smooth, it has great music and graphics, but I can really only play competitive in one format. It would be so easy for them to just implement all of these different formats into the game. And if someone wants to complain about the fact that, oh, you know, it wouldn't make them any money, there are so many solutions for that. Like, believe me, man. Pre-built decks, card bundles, special artworks, you name it. If Konami is good at any one thing, it is milking you for money. You don't have to be afraid that they wouldn't be able to milk you for money if they release these retro formats in their official client. At this point, I am just dying for a way to play more casual formats, more slow formats. Special deck events where maybe you can only use like 5 archetypes or some stuff. Like, just please give me more ways to actually enjoy the game outside of the sweaty ranked ladder. Like, I know there's Genesis, and I've dabbled in it here and there, but at this point in time, Genesis is still just the TCG light, essentially, because it's consistently been, a new deck releases, it doesn't get adequately hit in Genesis, so it's still the best deck. Like, in order for me to really play Genesis more casually and enjoyably, they'd have to do a bit more stuff to make it more equal, like the playing field more equal. But I mentioned before that I dusted off my old Crusadia deck for this event, and it is the most fun I've had in a while. I love Crusadia for the artwork of the cards and the fact that I really never get to play it, right? Because you simply cannot play this deck outside of niche events. Because, let's be honest, you're not beating anyone above gold in the rank ladder with a Crusadia deck that does not have like 2 Crusadia cards and 55 hand traps. It is just so difficult for a player to play the deck that they might really enjoy, because it plainly could just be too weak for the one format Master Duel provides you with. It just genuinely shocks me how reluctant Konami is in adding these highly requested formats into a game like Master Duel. I truly believe Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be made more enjoyable for more people if they create a proper anime, limit new cards a bit with actual fair restrictions and better card design. I know they can do it. Like, it's not my favorite deck to play against or play, but Draco Tail is a strong deck, but it's a fair deck. And the cards were actually designed in a way where you can have a meaningfully go first board, but you still have a chance going second. I know they can do it, but they just seemingly don't want to. They also just need to stop with the generic omni-negates and floodgates in every single archetype. It just becomes the same deck at that point. Like, why not have something like, and I know people hate it, but Ryziel. Like, Ryziel didn't have like the generic omni-negate, it had like, destruction. It was much more focused on popping cards, and it was annoying to play against, don't get me wrong, but at least it was a bit different. But then again, once they saw it was a rank 4 deck, hey, there's Baguska and there's Dweller, like, we need to ban these just generic floodgates, generic omni-negates. Just keep all of those things in archetype, like make it difficult for them to be summoned. Like, if you summon like the super strong restricted boss monster in your archetype, which has some type of floodgate effect, your opponent should have had the opportunity to disrupt you and not just be like, I have 2 rank 4 monsters, congratulations, you can't use your monsters or your graveyard right now. That's stupid. They also just really need to crack down on the ban list a lot harder. Like, there are so many cards that just shouldn't be legal. They really shouldn't be, and Konami knows this because we've been complaining about them for literally years at this point, but they just don't seem to want to ban them. And lastly, probably more of a personal point from me, they should introduce more casual ways to play the game. Alternative formats, some kind of like draft thing maybe in game, like just some way to enjoy the game without feeling like you need to play the most competitive deck possible, because otherwise you're just going to lose. I truly love Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's such a great game at its core, but right now playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Actively prevents your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's just a massive problem. And I said it before that I don't know a foolproof way to fix this, but I really do want it to be fixed, because I love Yu-Gi-Oh! As a franchise, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game. I've collected it ever since I basically learned what it was. I've played it for so long, and I have so many fond memories of it as well. But right now, it's starting to become less appealing, and I'm kind of afraid of that, to be honest, because playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been a pretty big part of my identity, and it's really discouraging to see something you really love and you want to continue playing, but you just can't find the motivation to do so because of choices which have been made but should not have been made and didn't need to be made. But I've ranted on for long enough. Let me know in the comments whether you agree with me, whether you think I'm spouting a bunch of nonsense, whether you have a different arguments, etc. I'm just curious what other people might think about my takes on this, their own takes on this, and just Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, right? Thank you for watching. I'm just going to miserably grind the Legend Anthology for that title right now, because I'm still a little Konami simp. I'll see you all later.